In the beating heart of Ouagadougou, beneath the heavy shadow of a monument steeped in history, a man steps forward alone. The silence is palpable, hanging on a breath no one dares to break. Around him, eyes lock on, whispers freeze. This captain, marked by war, burdened by choices and betrayal, is about to challenge a fate larger than himself by speaking to a ghost whose shadow still looms over Burkina Faso. On this day, a speech will either change everything, or shatter it all. But what truth is hidden behind these words that shake power and awaken hope? The heat in Ouagadougou slowly settled over the corrugated rooftops of the poorer neighborhoods. The wind carried red dust and uncertain whispers. In the kiosks, people spoke in hushed tones between sips of Dolo or while typing clumsy SMS messages. Is he really going to speak at Sankara's tomb? They say it'll be broadcast live, even on Ivorian TV. This country has become a minefield. Inside the presidential palace at Koudougou, the faces were tense. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, his features drawn from sleepless nights, stared at a military map on the wall. 3 red dots blinked over the Sahel. He turned away. The country is burning, he said. Not just because of terrorists, but because we let others write our future. I didn't come here to manage misery. I came to cut the cord that ties us to the past. Around him, a few young officers stood upright, silent. Among them were Commander Zida, his brother-in-arms, and Minister Nene Cabaret, a former lawyer turned pillar of the transitional government. What do you want me to say, Nene? That Sankara is watching us from the sky? I'm not a poet. You don't have to be. But you must weigh every word. The whole world will be watching. You're challenging the established order. If you fail, they'll call you a dictator. If you succeed, they'll take you down another way. Ibrahim didn't reply. He stepped out onto the terrace. Night was falling over Ouaga, and in the distance, he could see the rooftops of Paspanga, the neighborhood where he grew up. He remembered his father's stories about the revolution, about dignity, about collective cleanup days. The old man had proud eyes and farmer's hands. Down in the garden, a dozen young volunteers were rehearsing a protest song planned for the ceremony. Their voices were tense, but full of fire. You see that? Said Zida, joining the captain. These are the kids they call pro-government militias. Ibrahim turned to him. They're singing for Sankara, not for me. And tomorrow, they'll hear whether we've betrayed that name, or still carry it on our shoulders. Later that night, he locked himself in his office. He refused any written speech. Refused the armored podium. Refused the protocol. I'll speak like a son speaks to his father. And I don't want any filters. The next day, the announcement spread through newsrooms. Captain Traoré will deliver a historic speech, alone, at the tomb of Thomas Sankara, at the very site where he was assassinated in 1987. Embassies scrambled. In Paris, Abidjan, Brussels, analysts gritted their teeth. Military populism, some said. Another attempt to sanctify revolution, others whispered. In Ouaga, tension rose. In markets, streets, WhatsApp groups, it was the only topic of conversation. Some expected a messiah. Others, a misstep. But in the shadows, other forces were already at work. The speech was going to awaken old demons. And everyone knew, it wouldn't be without consequences. Ibrahim had made an irreversible decision. And there would be no turning back. On the morning of the speech, the sky over Ouagadougou was heavy, wrapped in an unusual silence. At 6 o'clock, an officer knocked on the door of the presidential office. Come in. It was the Special Advisor for Strategic Security Affairs, Mamadou Diallo. His face was pale, his voice dry. Captain, we received this during the night. It's a confidential report from an ally within ECOWAS. I'll let you read it. Ibrahim opened the folder. Inside were excerpts from diplomatic cables, declassified notes, and a clear message. A targeted economic embargo is being prepared against Burkina Faso. Sanctions coordinated by several European countries, discreetly supported by African states loyal to the old order. The goal, to suffocate the transitional government. They want to choke the state without firing a bullet, Ibrahim murmured. That's not all, Diallo continued. A march has been announced for midday. Local NGOs, all foreign-funded, are denouncing your authoritarianism. Their slogan is clear: neither Sankara nor dictatorship. Ibrahim closed his eyes. He knew. He knew this day would not be a mere ceremony. It was a test. An attack without uniforms. In an adjacent room, Minister Nene Cabaret was fuming. This is unheard of. Even foreign radio stations are calling it a public relations stunt. They're trying to neutralize your speech before it even happens. Sankara has become a word they twist like a brand, Ibrahim replied. And I'm seen as the imposter. Zida entered, phone in hand. This is from Reuters. They claim you're preparing a militaristic sermon for populist ends. CNN is talking about a tense speech in a country on the brink of collapse. Ibrahim stood up slowly. He stared at the large map of Burkina pinned to the wall, the borders, the red zones, the corridors blocked by armed groups. They think I'll back down. And what will you do? Asked Nene. You're still going up there, as planned? In front of the cameras, the drones, the critics. I'm going, yes. But not for them. Not for the cameras, not for the NGOs. I'm going for those who never left this country, even when it was falling apart. I'm going for those who have nothing left but their name. And I'm going for him, down there, under that slab. A heavy silence followed. Then he added, if I don't speak today, they will speak in my place. With their pens, their mics, their edits. And they'll turn Sankara into an empty dream, a toothless icon. I want him to still be heard biting. Outside, the first presidential security trucks were taking discreet positions around the Conseil de l'Entente. No tanks, no visible machine guns. Just distant surveillance. Ibrahim had been clear, no show of force. At the same time, on social media, hashtags were spreading like fire. Hashtag Sankara betrayed, hashtag Captain or Caesar, hashtag speech too far. Doctored videos circulated, editing Sankara's speeches to make him seem opposed to the current military leadership. Some opposition leaders, well-groomed, well-suited, were live on foreign channels. Sankara was civil society, non-violence, they said. The captain is the opposite. The trap was closing. The country was under pressure. Any mistake would be amplified. Any poorly chosen word would be twisted. An hour before his departure to the monument, Ibrahim remained alone in his office. He took out a black-and-white photo, Sankara, in military uniform, a steady smile, a frank gaze. He placed it in front of him. "Forgive me, Thomas," he said softly. "This country never knew how to protect you. Maybe I won't be able to either. But today, I'll try. And if I fall, I'll fall standing." It was 11:45 a.m. when the presidential convoy stopped at the entrance of the Conseil de l'Entente. No red carpet. No fanfare. Just faces. Hundreds of faces. Young, old, silent. A crowd suspended, tense, as if a single word could make everything explode. The sun beat down on Ouagadougou. Cameras were everywhere. More than 25 international news outlets were already live. Drones hovered above the monument. And at the back, between two rows of mango trees, stood the grave of Thomas Sankara. Ibrahim got out alone. No ministers. No visible bodyguards. His khaki shirt was wrinkled. He had written nothing. No teleprompter, no prepared speech. Just one note in his pocket, a Sankara quote, copied by hand. "You can kill a man, but not his ideas." As he walked toward the tomb, Ibrahim felt the weight of silence. A silence too clean, too perfect. The city had been swept. The microphones checked. Networks filtered. Yet he sensed something was off. An invisible trap. Just meters from the grave, he stopped. The crowd was there, but it had stopped breathing. The entire nation was holding its breath. He lifted his head. "Thomas," he said calmly, "I shouldn't be talking to you today. I should be speaking to them. To those who betrayed you. To those who buried you twice, once with a bullet and again with their lies. A murmur ran through the assembly. Then nothing. Ibrahim continued, without raising his voice. I didn't come here to praise you. You don't need statues. You had ideas, not idols. And if they accuse me of using your name, then I give it back. But I'm taking your fight with me. Eyes looked up. Some looked down. Among the high officials, unease was visible. They say I'm militarizing the country. But tell me, Thomas, when a people is surrounded, betrayed from within, abandoned from abroad, what do they have left? We asked for help, they gave us conditions. We cried out our pain, they responded with reports. His voice trembled slightly, then regained its strength. So yes, I took up arms. Not to dominate, but to defend. Not to rule, but to hold on. He paused. Then his gaze returned to the tomb. You fought so we wouldn't live on our knees. Today, they still want us to bow before those who killed you. But I swear to you, they will not pass again. A collective breath rippled through the crowd. Social media lit up. In certain embassies, internal alerts were triggered: dangerous drift, populist tension, armed nationalism. Then, in a near whisper, he added, there is no Sankara without courage. No Sankara without sacrifice. And there will be no free Burkina without pain. A massive silence followed. No cheers. No applause. A heavy void, as if the entire nation was absorbing a hammer blow. The captain turned and walked away without another word. No explanations. The act was done. That same evening, 3 influential members of the Transition Council resigned. 2 of them were already under watch for corruption. In some capitals, foreign ministries were already discussing graduated sanctions. On television, experts debated historic speech or authoritarian drift. But in the neighborhoods of Ouagadougou, Koudougou, Kaya, people spoke differently. A young graffiti artist in a wall in Gaunfin simply wrote, "He dared." The days that followed were strangely clear. No explosions. No direct confrontations. But an invisible noose began to tighten around Burkina Faso. The morning after the speech, the ambassador of a European country quietly left Ouagadougou, with no press conference. 3 days later, an emergency meeting was held in Accra between several West African heads of state. Behind closed doors, terms like diplomatic isolation and unstable transition kept coming up. In Ouagadougou, rumors of sanctions spread quickly. People spoke of frozen budgetary aid, an embargo on military equipment. A foreign radio outlet even floated the idea of a targeted blockade, as if testing the waters. In the corridors of Koudougou, some advisors began to distance themselves. The Minister of Economy requested a private audience with Ibrahim. He spoke like a technocrat. "Captain, we're not ready. The CFA franc, our imports, international institutions. We still need them. Not now. Withdraw your words. Call for calm." Ibrahim didn't answer immediately. He stared out the window, watching the glistening asphalt of Avenue Charles de Gaulle. "You want me to take back a vow made before a dead man? No, I want you to let us breathe. You're carrying too much alone. Even Sankara ended up isolated." The captain stood up, looking exhausted. "Then let them all walk away. But I won't betray what I said." That night, Burkinabè's social media ignited. A collective of artists from Bobo Dioulasso released a video. A voiceover replayed excerpts from the speech over images of markets, fallen soldiers, and farmers plowing fields. The title, "Courage Can't Be Bought." In the popular neighborhoods, youth started repainting walls, not with slogans, just simple words: "Stand up, we're here, Sankara isn't dead." In Zagona, a 65-year-old retired teacher, Maman Fati, launched a grassroots initiative. Free meals for garrison soldiers, funded only by local donations. She told reporters, "If our children are dying at the front while fat cats grow rich in offices, then we're already dead as a people." Ibrahim received conflicting reports. Some politicians spoke of populist radicalization, others saw a historic awakening. Even the president of a teachers' union wrote him personally. "You said out loud what our generation has been whispering for 20 years. If others abandon you, we won't." But a more subtle threat was approaching. The IMF suddenly froze a credit line meant for food supply. 2 influential NGOs suspended their humanitarian operations for security reasons. Prices rose. Inflation returned. In Western media, Burkina Faso was now described as a cautionary tale. Ibrahim called a crisis meeting with military commanders and a few economists. "They don't need bombs. They have money. The lifeline. The breath." A young officer proposed a counter-strategy: accelerate regional cooperation, relaunch barter systems, and mobilize the diaspora. "Captain, the pain is coming. But it will be ours. Not imposed." The captain nodded. He knew. The gamble had been made. But the deck had now caught fire. And then, one morning, an anonymous note was found at the foot of Sankara's monument. No name. Just these handwritten words. He spoke. "This time, the blood will not cry out in the desert." A few weeks later, Burkina Faso was no longer the same as before. External pressure had created fractures, but popular unity, fragile, yes, had grown stronger. Alone with his choices, Ibrahim understood a truth that had haunted him for a long time. Freedom cannot be bought, it must be won, often at the cost of sacrifice. That morning, he returned to Thomas Sankara's tomb. The African sun warmed the engraved stone, heavy with memory. Without a word, he planted a small acacia seed in the dry earth, a symbol of stubborn hope, deeply rooted. The captain stood still for a long time, his gaze fixed on the seed. In the silence, a voice rose, soft but firm. It was Maman Fati, the elderly teacher from Zagona. "You did not speak to Sankara that day. You answered him." Ibrahim smiled, tired but proud. This was not a triumph, nor an end. It was a renewed commitment, a promise to his people, an endless fight against the powers that still wanted to dominate Africa. In his speech, he had said, "There will be no free Burkina without pain." That pain had to be accepted by everyone, so that dignity would not remain just a word. Because true sovereignty is won through trials, through the refusal to give up. Statues do not resurrect heroes. Speeches do not bring them back to life. It is through acts, choices, and steadfastness in struggle that they are resurrected. Ibrahim Traoré, captain and head of state, knew this now better than ever. His fight was not just for himself, but for all who hoped to see Africa one day stand tall, proud, and free. Final lesson. We do not resurrect heroes by statues or speeches. We resurrect them through actions.